back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth, and it's great to have you guys here on this Thursday, November 7th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to hit that Super Chat button in the chat to help create a Super Chat of any thought or comment you may want to see me acknowledge throughout the live broadcast. And it just makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. Also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, gsmcpodcast.net. That is gsmcpodcast.net. So let's get into what we are going to discuss for today. So we're going to start off the show. We're going to preview tonight's game between the Ravens and the Bengals to kick off Week 10 in the NFL. We'll also get into talking about the Saints letting go of Dennis Allen, their head coach. Talk about the loss to the Panthers. Then we'll get into discussing the Cardinals-Bears game and also get into the topic that everybody was discussing is the Bears leaving Caleb Williams in the game late. Because it really wasn't much of a game. The Cardinals won 29-9, I believe. And Caleb Williams was still in the game and got banged around a little bit. And, it looked like he could have been, seriously injured, but it's nothing to really worry about. He's going to be playing on Sunday. But just to talk about that, give you my thoughts on it. Then we'll talk about the Chargers and their win over the Browns and kind of talking about the Chargers as a team and, what we could expect them to do maybe. Because right now they're in a wild card spot, and they could be a dangerous team when we get to the postseason. So we'll talk about them. And then in the final part of the show, we will also get into talking about the Eagles-Jaguars game as well. The Eagles winning that game 28-23, and just kind of talk about what happened there. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about the Ravens and the Bengals. And, the last time these two teams met, it was very high scoring. The Bengals won in overtime. The final score ended up being 38-35. And, yeah, that was one of the best games of the year. So now, and that was played in Cincinnati. Now this game is going to be being played in Baltimore. Ravens right now are 6-point favorites. And there's going to be some guys missing from this game. It doesn't look like T. Higgins is going to be playing tonight for the Bengals. And then on the other side, I know Isaiah Likely, he is not going to be playing. Their other tight end has been ruled out. So, a couple of guys that are going to be missing from this game. But I think it should still be a good game. And, looking at both of these teams, let's kind of go back to the last time they played and look at the stats. Because, actually the final score was 41-38, my mistake, of that game. Lamar Jackson had 348 passing yards in that game, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. The Ravens ran the ball for 175 rushing yards. Zay Flowers had a good game, 7 receptions for 111 yards. For the Bengals, Joe Burrow had 5 touchdowns to 1 interception. That interception was costly towards the end of the game because that set up the game-tying field goal that led to overtime. But yeah, almost 400 yards passing, 392 passing yards. They only ran the ball for 71 yards in total. Jamar Chase, 10 receptions for 193 yards and 2 touchdowns. T. Higgins, 9 receptions for 83 yards and 2 touchdowns. But they do not have T. Higgins in this game, which is huge because now everybody's going to be focusing their attention on Jamar Chase. And, the Raiders last week when the Bengals played them, Joe Burrow had 5 touchdowns, but none of them were to Jamar Chase. The Raiders are, I guess, being like, hey, try to beat us with somebody else. And, Mike Gesicki had a big game. Chase Brown had a touchdown. Yoshi Voss. So, the Bengals are definitely going to be focusing in on Jamar Chase because, you know, the Bengals don't run the ball great, and, you know, T. Higgins out. That's a key playmaker that you're missing in this game tonight. So, and, you know, the Bengals defense has not been great this year. Derrick Henry, you know, still had a good game against the Bengals the first time, but, you know, he didn't rush for over 100 yards. He had 92 yards rushing, only had 15 carries. I mean, that game was just back and forth all day. So, I don't think it's going to be as high scoring. I've been kind of going back and forth on who I think is going to, well, I think the Ravens are going to win again, but with the points is where it's definitely tough. But to kind of go through the league rankings for both teams, so on offense, the Ravens are 4th in passing yards per game, averaging 264.4 passing yards per game. The Bengals are 7th, averaging 249.3 passing yards per game. Running the ball, the Ravens are 1st, which is, there's no surprise there, 191.9 rushing yards per game to the Bengals 94.2, which is 27th. Ravens are 1st. And then points per game, both teams are top 10. The Ravens are 2nd, averaging 31.4 points per game, and the Bengals are 7th, averaging 26.2 points per game. And if you remember last year, when these two teams played in Baltimore on a Thursday night, Joe Burrow, you know, injured his wrist. And the Ravens ended up winning that game comfortably. So we'll see what happens tonight. But that was another thing to bring up. And then against the pass, the Ravens' defense is 32nd. Their pass defense has not been good. Now, they went out and they traded for Tre'Davious White. We'll see if that helps. But, yeah, they're giving up an average of 302 passing yards per game. And the Bengals are 14th, giving up an average of 223.3, which is 14th. And then against the run, the Ravens' defense is 1st. They're giving up an average of 75.7 rushing yards per game. And the Bengals' defense is 18th, giving up an average of 130.4 rushing yards per game. And then points allowed, both defenses are kind of around the same. The Ravens are 22nd. They're giving up an average of 24.3 points per game. And the Bengals' defense is giving up an average of 25.2 points per game, which is 25th. So it's going to be interesting. And both quarterbacks are playing really well this year. Lamar Jackson has almost 2,400 yards passing. He has 20 touchdowns and 2 picks. Joe Burrow has a little over 2,200 yards passing, and he's got 20 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. So both quarterbacks are playing at MVP levels. But the Ravens are 6-3. Bengals are 4-5. Bengals are trying to get back to 500. This is a big game for them. And their next 2 games are in prime time because the following week they'll be playing the Chargers. That's on a Sunday night. But yeah, with T. Higgins being out, that doesn't, make me feel good when it comes to the Bengals. Because he is a big target. And, now you take him out of this game and it's Jamar Chase. And look, Mike Gesicki had a good game, like I said, against the Raiders. And, Yoshi Voss has made plays for them. And Chase Brown has looked good out of the backfield. But, he's more of a receiving back. They don't run the football great. So it's really going to be up to Joe Burrow in that offense to just, be throwing it all day and trying to keep up with this Ravens offense as well. Because this Ravens offense is very explosive. And they made it better by acquiring Deontay Johnson, to go along with Zay Flowers, who's having a good year. Mark Andrews, I expect him to make some plays tonight. I mean, now with Likely being out for this week, that's a weapon that they don't have here. And of course, Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry will get, his usual 100 yards rushing, and he has scored a touchdown every week this season, so I would assume he's going to do the same thing tonight. He's very hard to keep out of the end zone. So, but I expect this to be a good game, but I don't know. For me right now, the Ravens, they are one of the best teams, and the Bengals are going to put up points, but can their defense get stops? And that's really going to be the key in this game. Can the Bengals defense get key stops in key moments? And I don't know. I don't know if that is going to happen. But I expect Burrow in this offense to, move the ball. But like I said, it's going to be tough to stop this Ravens offense because they could beat you in so many different ways. They're not one-dimensional. The Bengals offense is kind of one-dimensional. So, and you're missing one of your top guys. But we'll see what happens. The Bengals kind of got their backs against the wall. They're a game under 500 right now. They win this game tonight. That's huge. Get yourselves back to 500, and then, a new season starts for you. So, can this game live up to the one earlier this season? I don't think so. But who knows? Who knows? We will see. We will see what happens. But I do like the Ravens to win. Again, I'm going back and forth on, if I think the Bengals are going to cover or not. Because the Bengals can put up points. It's just, with T. Higgins being out, that's, like I would have felt, I definitely would feel more confident if T. Higgins was playing, to take the points. But, yeah, I don't really know. That I'm going to have to go back and forth on. But I do think that this will be a game that finishes within 10 points. I don't think the Ravens are going to blow them out, even though that's kind of what they've done to teams this year. I mean, they had the Broncos coming in with a good defense. They were playing well, and the Ravens blew them out. The Commanders kept it close with them. They only lost by 7, I believe. So anything's possible. And look, these two teams met already, and, the Bengals lost a heartbreaker, and I did say that, the Bengals would probably split with them, but could be a sweep. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I got the Ravens winning, and, if that happens, then the Bengals will drop to 4-6. So, but the Ravens right now they're rolling offensively. But their weakness is their defense. And we saw that when the first meeting between these two teams. It was a track meet. So, we'll see how it goes. But I got the Ravens winning this game. Again, we'll see what I end up doing with my spread pool. If I take the Bengals, or if I take the Ravens to cover. Still got to think about it. But should be a good game. And I need Jamar Chase to have the game of his life, because I'm going up against my friend who has Derrick Henry and Chase Brown tonight. I need Jamar Chase to match whatever they do, because Derrick Henry's been awesome. Chase Brown has been good too. So Jamar Chase has had a good year. Last week was kind of quiet. Let's have a big week this week somehow. So, yeah, we're going to take our first break. Again, let me know what you guys think about this game. How do you see it playing out? When we come back, we'll talk about the Panthers-Saints game. We'll talk about the Saints letting go of their head coach, Dennis Allen. We'll get into all that when we return. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're going to now get into talking about the Saints firing Dennis Allen, their head coach. And not really surprised by this. And I mean, if you think about it, though, you go back to the beginning of the season. They started off 2-0, and I kind of drank the Kool-Aid a little bit with the Saints, and I was like, okay, maybe, they're going to have a good season. Derek Carr's playing well. They put up 40 points back-to-back weeks. But you kind of see, I mean, the Panthers we knew weren't that good. But, when they beat the Cowboys at home and really beat them, we thought, okay, maybe the Saints are legit this year. But now, again, you see how the Cowboys are playing, and, things fell apart after that week. They have not won a game since they went 2-0. And, Dennis Allen, I think, before the season, I probably would have said he's one of the coaches that is on the hot seat and probably will be let go if the Saints underperform this year. But then when they were 2-0, I'm like, oh, maybe, they're going to turn it around this year. But that ended up not happening. They let him go, losing to the Panthers 23-22 on Sunday. That was the final straw. And this is what a couple of statements from the Saints. So Dennis has been part of our organization for many years. He's highly regarded within the NFL. He has been extremely loyal and professional, and most importantly, an excellent football coach for us. All of this makes today very tough, and for me and our organization, this is what Saints owner Gail Benson had to say in a statement. However, this decision is something that I felt we needed to make at this point, or to make it this time. I wish nothing but the best in the future for Dennis and his family. He will always be considered in the highest regard by me and everyone within our organization. And in 43 games as the Saints head coach when he took over for Sean Payton, he's 18-25. So more quotes here. I want to take this opportunity to first and foremost thank ownership for the opportunity to be the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. The organization will forever be near and dear to my heart, and I'm disappointed the results weren't better. I also want to thank Mickey Loomis for the support he and his staff provided throughout the entire time I was with the organization. So this is now Dennis Allen in his quotes. I am proud to have worked alongside some great coaches, both as an assistant and during my time as the head coach. To those men, I am sincerely grateful for the time and effort they put into their jobs. I am also grateful for the entire staff that worked hard to provide the support and will miss our daily interactions. And yeah, it's, again, not really surprised. Like I said, if the Saints underperformed this year, he was most likely going to be gone. But again, this season, you started off good, and then, now they've lost 7 straight, and losing to the Panthers was the final straw. And then this is what the general manager had to say. Dennis Allen is an excellent football coach. This season we have had an avalanche of injuries. It took its toll. DA has never offered excuses. He fought each day for this organization and this team, and that is what makes today disappointing. Dennis has been an integral part of the organization's success for the better part of 20 years. He will be missed. And yeah, so that's it for him. And look, the Saints are in a bad spot right now, because you got all these veteran guys. Now they started trading some. They traded Marshawn Lattimore. I don't know what's going to happen for some of the other guys. I mean, they did, work out a contract with Alvin Kamara, but I don't know where the Saints are going. I just really, I don't know what their direction is. I mean, are they going to draft a quarterback if they have the ability to? I mean, I guess. I don't know if I don't know if they view Spencer Rattler the future, and also there's a lot going on with Derek Carr. Now, I did want to bring up another thing that happened in the Panthers game, and that was Chris Olave, being put on a stretcher in the game because he suffered another concussion, was hit in the head by Xavier Woods while attempting to catch, a pass from Derek Carr. And Michael Thomas on social media is blaming Derek Carr for why Chris Olave got hurt. Olave got knocked to the ground after the hit and was taken out of the stadium and was evaluated at a hospital in Charlotte. But he was released before the end of Sunday's game and flew home with the team. So that's good signs there. He posted something on Instagram as well. So at least, he was released from the hospital, and it looks like he's, heading in the right direction there. But yeah, I mean, you kind of, it's another player that's been dealing with concussions. I mean, he had the one in the Bucs game as well. So you worry about the safety of Chris Olave. But that's just something else. It's just a lot of bad things going on with the Saints. And yeah, you got Michael Thomas calling out Derek Carr, and Derek Carr having to answer that question, answering questions from the media on it. And, he had a good response for it. It's not like he went back at Michael Thomas. But, yeah, I mean, Derek Carr is receiving a lot of hate. And, look, has he been a disappointment? Yes, but, I mean, this is no way to treat a human being. Blaming him for a player getting hurt. And just, Saints fans, too. I mean, they just have, had it with him. So, I mean, this could be it for him in New Orleans. I'm going to say now, probably going to end up playing somewhere else next year. The way things are looking. But let's kind of go through the game now. There's just a lot going on with the Saints. So, yeah, they ended up losing 23-22. They both have the same record now, the Panthers and the Saints. The Saints went up 3-0. They were up 6-0 going into the second quarter. Then the Panthers put together a touchdown drive. Bryce Young connected with Xavier Legette. So that made it 7-6. Then the Saints answered with a touchdown. Taysom Hill from 7 yards out scored. Both teams then punted. It was 13-10 at the half. The Panthers kicked the field goal. But then they opened up the second half with a touchdown drive. Chuba Hubbard from 1 yard out scored. So that made 17-13. Then the Saints answered with a field goal. Then they got a touchdown later. Carr connecting with Foster Moreau for a 17-yard touchdown. They went for 2 and didn't get it. Then Bryce Young threw a pick, and the Saints did nothing with that. They ended up punting. Then after that, more punts, and then the Panthers put together a touchdown drive. Chuba Hubbard from 16 yards out. And speaking of Chuba Hubbard, he just got a new contract. They gave him a 4-year extension. I want to look at the specifics of the deal. So, yeah, 4 years, $33.2 million, $15 million guaranteed. Was a 4th-round pick in 2021. He's had a good year. He has had a good year, but people are kind of confused because they drafted Jonathan Brooks. And they're wondering, well, why are you paying him when you have another running back that you drafted? So, some people are a little puzzled by that. But, again, Chuba Hubbard deserves to, get a contract. I mean, he's been playing well this year. It's just, I was kind of curious of, by the Panthers, giving him that contract when they drafted a running back in this past NFL draft. But that's what they decided to do. But, yeah, so after Hubbard scored that touchdown, the Saints turned it over on downs, and then the Panthers iced the game, and that was it. Derek Carr finished 18-31 for 236 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Alvin Kamara had a big game, 29 carries for 155 yards. He was also the leading receiver. He had 60 yards receiving. Taysom Hill, 41 yards receiving, also had a rushing touchdown. Saints defense, only 1 sack in this game. Bryce Young, 16-26, 171 yards, 1 touchdown and a pick. Chuba Hubbard, 2 rushing touchdowns, 72 yards on the ground. Jatavion Sanders had 4 receptions for 87 yards. Panthers defense only had 1 sack in the game. But yeah, they improved to 2-7. Saints drop to 2-7. And then we get the pleasure of watching the Panthers and the Giants play in Germany on Sunday. And then as for the Saints, they take on the Falcons at home this week. But yeah, they have lost 7 in a row after starting off 2-0 on the season. So, kind of jumped on that bandwagon a little bit too quick. I mean, I wasn't fully on it, but I definitely was getting ready to board the train, and it ended up not going anywhere. But yeah, I mean, they're a team that I just really don't know what their plan is going to be. I mean, we'll see where they end up finishing in the draft, but I definitely think with the veterans that you have on this team, I think you got to continue to sell them off, maybe in the off season, because I mean, this team needs a full makeover. Because they've kind of been stuck in, well, we still want to compete, and they've hovered around 500, but it's just they haven't made the playoffs in quite some time now. The last time they made it was in 2020. They just missed out on it in 2021, and that was Sean Payton's last year. Last year they went 9-8 and just missed out. But this was the year that the wheels kind of fell off, and part of that is injuries, but it's just and also Derek Carr just really hasn't worked out. So I do think this is a team that really does need to just hit the reset button and start over, because that has been needed for quite some time. So, but yeah, letting go of Dennis Allen, that was the right move, and we'll see what they end up doing next year, who they end up bringing in, and maybe there'll be a new quarterback in place. Who knows? But let me know what you guys think about the Saints. What do you see them doing after the season? Do you see them moving off of some of their veteran guys? Let me know in the comments. So before we go to break, just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want me to acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. Makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCpodcast.net. That is GSMCpodcast.net. So when we come back from our next break, we will talk about the Bears-Cardinals game. We'll talk about Caleb Williams being left in the game for too long. That could have resulted in a major injury, but didn't. But we'll talk about what Matt Eberflus, the head coach, had to say on it. We'll get into all that when we return from our next break. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to talk about the Bears' loss to the Cardinals, but we'll also get into discussing Caleb Williams being left in the game for too long. And, I thought the Bears were going to be more competitive in this game with their defense. And, Caleb Williams has started to play better in recent weeks. I know last week against the Commanders he was not great. But, I thought this could be a game that he could bounce back and this offense, could get it going. But it just didn't happen. The Cardinals ended up winning this game 29-9. He only had 217 yards passing, no touchdowns and no interceptions. The Bears only ran the ball for 69 yards. Rome Odunze had a good game. He had 5 receptions for 104 yards. Keenan Allen was targeted 10 times, 4 receptions for 36 yards. DJ Moore, 4 for 33 yards. And he talked about rolling his ankle because there was a play where Caleb Williams just, was trying to, extend the play, and he was running all over the place. And DJ Moore just, was off the field while the play was still going on. He thought the play was over, I guess, and The play was still going on, but he's on the sidelines, and that was just that was a bad look by him. But yeah, it was just not a good game for the Bears. And just then at the end, you have Caleb Williams still in, and it looked like he got hurt. He got banged up a little bit. That wasn't a good look either, and we'll get into that. But yeah, both teams exchanged punts to start the game a couple times. Then the Cardinals put together a 5-play, 41-yard drive down the field, and a rushing touchdown by Trey McBride. So that made it 7-0. Then the Bears answered with the field goal. He had a 44-yard pass play by Caleb Williams to Roma Dunze. And later in the drive, Cairo Santos from 29 yards out scored a field goal. So, yeah, that made it 7-3. Then the Cardinals fumbled. Marvin Harrison Jr. fumbled. The Bears recovered. And they turned that into a field goal, another Santos field goal. That was a 53-yarder. So, yeah, that made it 7-6. Then the Cardinals put together a touchdown drive. They went 12 plays, 70 yards. And Trey Benson from 1 yard out scored. So, yeah, that made it 14-6. Then it was 14-9, another Santos field goal. That was the last time the Bears scored, a 53-yarder. And then I don't know what – I really don't understand what was going on with this defense. There was a lot of bad defense this past week. There's not that much time left. And with 12 seconds left in the game, they just let DeMercado on 3rd and 5 run for 53 yards and score a touchdown. I mean, I don't know what the Bears are doing defensively there. How do you let that happen? So that makes it 21-9 at the half instead of 14-9. Or at worst, it could have been 17-9 if they had to kick a field goal on it, if they were able to make it. But you ended up letting them score a touchdown there. So then the Bears punted to start off the third quarter. The Cardinals put together a long drive that went almost 8 minutes. Ryland kicked a 29-yard field goal. That made it 24-9. Then the Bears, they turned it over on downs. They went for it, didn't get it. And then the Cardinals kicked another field goal, 55-yarder from Ryland. More punts. Then there was a safety. And then the Cardinals fumbled. Kyler Murray fumbled on 4th and 1. Bears turned it over on downs. Cardinals got it back. They punted, and then drive didn't really lead to anything at the end of the game on the Bears' possession there. But what I wanted to talk about, though, was the Bears leaving Caleb Williams in the game. And, got banged up a little bit. And the fact that he was still in the game, when this game is clearly out of reach. I mean, he should not have been in the game. Why he was still in? Well, this is what... Now, Caleb Williams said he was okay, but... And he also did say that it wasn't his decision to stay in. And Matt Eberflus said that he was just getting work and getting timing on the 2-minute operation. The starters are left in the game because we're going to fight to the end. See, when you go back to when Chris Godwin got hurt, that was a 10-point game with this Bucs-Ravens game. So I guess, okay. But this game, you're down by 20 points in the fourth quarter. Why is your starter still in the game? Why are your starters still in the game? It just really didn't make sense. Matt Eberflus said, like I said every week, this is a week-to-week league. It's important that we stay focused on this week and the improvements for the week and stay dialed into those improvements. Yeah, see, he was another head coach that I just was not crazy about going into the season. I know they played well towards the end of the season last year, but I don't know. I feel like the Bears, if they're going to want to take that next step, I think they need to bring in an offensive-minded head coach. Now, who's to say the Bears can't turn it around? And, they're at 500 right now. Maybe they get it going, but they got a tough part of their schedules coming up. They're playing against their divisional opponents. They got the 49ers in there. I know that. It's just, you finish with, 5 or 6 wins. I don't really think the head coach should come back. So, yeah, and that statement he made didn't really look good. Because Caleb Williams could have got hurt. Could have been seriously hurt. And then you have no season. But, yeah, Caleb Williams has not been great. So, he had a QBR in Week 9. It was 18.4, which was the second lowest to Joe Flacco. Yeah, they lost 2 in a row. They do have a get-right game against the Patriots. So, you win that, you're back over 500. But Caleb Williams, he has been sacked 29 times this season, which is third most in the league. He's on pace for 62 sacks, which will be tied for the 6th most in NFL history. Now, this is courtesy of ESPN.com. The Cardinals had Williams under duress by pressuring him on 21 of his 50 dropbacks, 42%. Led to 6 sacks, including on 3 consecutive plays. That's unbelievable. And you thought they started to run the ball better, and they were becoming more of a balanced offense, but they just really could not get the ball. They couldn't really run the ball in this game. Entering Week 9, he had a 31% completion percentage on throws with 15 or more air yards down the field, which ranked 29th out of 32 qualified quarterbacks. He was 1 for 8 on such throws in Arizona with 6 off-target throws. Yeah, the protection is still a problem. Like I said, the running game just really was not there. They totaled 241 yards, and they converted 3 of 14 attempts on third down. Yeah, just not a good performance by them. For the Cardinals, though, I mean, Kyler Murray only had 154 yards passing. He had no touchdowns, no interceptions. He only had 6 rushing yards. The Cardinals as a team, though, they ran the ball effectively against the Bears. 213 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. None of them, of course, were to James Conner. I needed that for fantasy. But he had 18 carries for 107 yards. DeMarcado had a rushing touchdown. Trey Benson had a rushing touchdown. Trey McBride had a rushing touchdown. And Trey McBride was the leading receiver. He had 3 receptions for 35 yards. Like I said, Cardinals defense, 6 sacks on the day against Caleb Williams. And the Bears, their defense, they had 3 sacks. But the Cardinals are 5-4. Right now they are in sole possession of the NFC West, so you got to give them credit there. The Bears are 4-4. Their season is by no means over, but that tough part of your schedule is coming up. So you got to beat the Patriots and then go from there, because you got your entire division, the 49ers and the Seahawks. Those are all tough games. So, you at least get to 5-4, and you go into this tough part of your schedule. I mean, I don't expect them to lose all of these. I would be surprised if they lose every single one of these games. But I just think, every team in their division, I think, is better than them. They are. They all have the better head coaches, and I just think they all have the better teams right now. The Lions are one of the best teams in the NFL. I know the Packers lost to them, but the Packers are still good. The Vikings are still a good team. And then you got the Niners and the Seahawks. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I really can't see them going 5-12. That's not going to happen. They're going to win. Their wins in there. They're going to surprise us somewhere. But maybe they don't. But we'll see. But yeah, it was an ugly game for the Bears, and just, the head coach didn't do himself any favors, and just, seeing DJ Moore, walking off the field while the play is still going on. But he didn't realize it. He thought the play was over. Not a good look. Not a good look. But they're 4-4. There are teams that are in worse positions than they are. So let's see. But we're really going to see what this team is made of when we get to this tough part of their schedule. Because, again, they play literally everybody in their division. They haven't played anyone in their division yet. So we will see what happens. But let me know what you guys think about this situation. Should Caleb Williams have been taken out of the game? I think pretty much everybody is on the same page with that. There's no reason why he should be still in the game when you're down 3 scores. He shouldn't be in the game. And that's what got Todd Bowles in hot water, is leaving Chris Godwin in and leaving all their starters in. But again, I said, at least with that game, you're down by 10. like this game you're down by 20. And maybe that doesn't make a big difference, but still, I mean, the Bucs really didn't have a chance to win. So yeah, they should have probably sat their starters, but I mean, this you're really out of the game. And you still got your guys in. And your quarterback is getting knocked around this entire game. Why is he still in? Get him out of there. You don't want him getting hurt. But that's not what happened. So we'll see what the Bears do when they take on the Patriots on Sunday. I do think early on here, I'll be making my picks tomorrow, but I do think that this is a get-right game for them. I do think that. So I think they'll go in to this tough part of their schedule at 5-4, and we'll see what they can do. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Bears. Cardinals, look, they're in first place. Give them credit. They could definitely be a wild card team. This NFC West, it's a good division right now. You got the Rams that are getting hot. The Niners are getting healthy. Cardinals are in first place. Seahawks get DK Metcalf back, but they're still there. They're still hanging around. We got some good divisions. These are going to be tight races down the stretch. So we're going to take our next break, and then when we come back, we will talk about the Chargers and their win over the Browns, and talk about how dangerous they could be when we get to the playoffs, if they are a playoff team. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are going to talk about the Chargers and, their win over the Browns, and also just talk about them as a playoff team, because right now that's kind of where they're at. They're in a playoff spot. They're one of the 3 wild card teams in the AFC. And going into the season, I gave them, 9 wins. I said 9-8. And, they could definitely right now, they do have some tough games coming up on the schedule, but that's a team that could definitely, finish with that record and be a playoff team. I don't think they're not catching the Chiefs, but right now you kind of look at the AFC and, they're in a good spot. So, and it looks like the offense is starting to look better. Now Justin Herbert these last couple weeks has really been airing it out. Getting on the same page with his receivers. He's got 10 touchdowns to 1 interception this year. It's good. You want to see the touchdowns go up, obviously. Yeah, these last couple of weeks, or these last few weeks, rather, he played good against the Cardinals. They should have beaten the Cardinals. He had 349 yards passing. Against the Saints a couple weeks ago, he had 279 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And then this past week, 282 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no picks. The Chargers were all over the Browns in this game. Jameis had 3 picks. That defense was suffocating. They had 6 sacks on the day against Jameis Winston and the Browns offense. So, that defense is pretty good. But yeah, we'll kind of go through the game summary really quick. So the Chargers, they got on the board first. They went up 7-0. Herbert connected with Joshua Palmer on 3rd and 21, a 28-yard touchdown to make it 7-0. Browns answered with a field goal in the second quarter, but then they put together another touchdown drive, the Chargers. Justin Herbert connected with Quentin Johnston for a 66-yard touchdown. He's looking good in his sophomore season, now being one of the top receivers in this offense. Browns then punted. Then The Chargers put together another touchdown drive, a 16-yard rushing touchdown by J.K. Dobbins. So it was 20-3 at the half. There was no scoring in the third quarter. Pretty much no scoring in the fourth quarter until towards the end. The Chargers scored another touchdown, another J.K. Dobbins touchdown from 7 yards out. The Browns did put together a touchdown drive at the very end. Jameis connected with Cedric Tillman. And yeah, so the final score is 27-10. But you gotta like what the Chargers are doing right now. Last year, their defense was not good. And then they dealt with a lot of injuries. And, their season pretty much got derailed. And also, Brandon Staley was not a good head coach. But now you bring in Jim Harbaugh, and he's already changing the culture there. And this team is only going to get better, as we move along here in the Harbaugh era. They got the quarterback. They got some, young weapons there. McConkey's had a good year. Quinn Johnson, again, like I said, his second year has been good. When he's played, because I know he's been banged up a little bit. The defense, that has made a big difference. All the games that they lost, you lose by 10 points to the Steelers early on, but you were in that game. Herbert got banged up too in that game. You only lost to the Chiefs by 7, and then you lost on a game-winning field goal by the Cardinals, where the whole game you were just kicking field goals. So the Chargers keep things close. They got the Titans this week. I expect them to win that. But, then we move along here. Then you got the Bengals on Sunday Night Football the following week. Then you got the Ravens coming in. Then you got the Falcons in Atlanta. Then you're at the Chiefs, home against the Buccaneers, home against the Broncos. From weeks 11 to 16, we'll see what the Chargers are made of. Because then the end off the year, you got the Patriots and the Raiders, which I think they should win both of those games. So that gets you to 7 wins. I think they win this week. That gets you to 8. I would say they beat the Bucs, so that gets them to 9. Broncos maybe gets you to 10. Yeah, they could definitely win. They could definitely get to 10 wins, I think. And that should be good enough to get you in. Now, I kept them out of the playoff picture. Because I basically had, 3 of the 4 AFC North teams making it. I had the Jets making it. Right now, they're on the outside looking in. Who else did I have? Well, I had the Dolphins making it, but they're 2-6. Yeah, because I had the Chiefs and the Bills making it. I had the Texans making it out of the South. The Ravens making it, and then I had the Bengals and the Jets. Bengals, Jets, and Dolphins. Right now you got the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Steelers. And I didn't have them in. So. But the Chargers, they're looking good right now. I definitely think that they can make it. Now, when they get in, they are a dangerous team. Because they play good defense. And Justin Herbert is playing well. He's starting to get on the same page with his receivers, like I said. And, they're just airing it out more. I think that's really the other thing, too. And you got a good running game. They got all the components to be a dangerous team when you get to the playoffs. And you got a head coach that's been there before. That's coached in very big games. Has coached in Super Bowls, has coached in championship games, has coached... Well, I'm just talking about in the NFL. And then in college, of course, was with Michigan, and they won the national championship. So, and Herbert's gotten a little bit of a taste of playoff experience, although it wasn't great because they choked a big lead. But this team can definitely give, some of these top-tier teams fits when we get to the postseason. Definitely can. I do worry if if they're not playing their style of keeping things close and running the football, and, Herbert's going to have to throw a bunch of times, that could be an issue. Herbert can do it. It's just that's not the style that they want to play. But if they could keep games close and the defense could keep things close and they're able to establish the run, yeah, they could be a dangerous team. I'm curious to see how it goes when they go up against some of these offenses that could put up points. Go up against the Chiefs in Arrowhead. How is that going to go? We'll have to wait and see. We have Jay in the chat. He said, hi, I biggest football fan. Hey, listen, football's great. But the season's going very fast. Now we're in week 10. So maybe got to slow it down a little bit. No, it's not going to. But, I expected, Harbaugh to make an immediate impact. I didn't expect, I'm not expecting the Chargers to make a deep playoff run. I did say they could be in the mix for the playoffs, and, they are. I mean, they're in a playoff spot right now, so it doesn't surprise me. And, you got Justin Herbert there, who is underrated. Is Justin Herbert underrated? I mean, I think he's one of the most talented quarterbacks that we have in this league right now. But you got people that critique him, and obviously that playoff loss, was partly on him. But he's a good quarterback. He's a really good quarterback. I wish the Giants had him. So you got the quarterback. The defense is playing well. You got the running game. The offensive line, going and drafting Joe Alt was the right pick. This team is only going to get better as we move along. It really is. So, yeah, I think they are going to be a dangerous team when we get to the playoffs, depending on the matchups. Because right now, let's see. So if the playoffs were to end today, right now they would be. Just give me a sec here. I have to pull up the standings again. So they'd be the 6th seed. So they would be playing. Oh, so they'd be playing the Steelers again. Wow. Now, it'd be a little different because now you got Russ playing. Also, Justin Herbert would be healthier in this game. So, I think that would be. It would be a different game, obviously, with Russ playing instead of Fields, but, again, you have two solid defenses going at it, so it would definitely be, the game would be very tight. That game would definitely get tight if that ends up happening. But I still think the Ravens are going to win the division. But who knows? But let me know what you guys think, though. How dangerous are the Chargers? Do you think this team can make a run? We'll see. But right now, they're in a wild card spot. I mean, the division's basically out of reach for anybody in that division. With the Chiefs undefeated. Even before the year, I mean, we all pretty much had the Chiefs winning that. But, let's see if the Chargers can upset them the next time they play. When they play on Sunday Night Football in Arrowhead later in the year. So, but gotta like what they're doing right now. So, we're going to take our final break of the show. And then when we come back, we will talk about another game. We'll talk about the Eagles and the Jaguars. We'll talk about some big plays in that game. We'll get into the specifics of it. The Eagles almost blowing that game. But, they got the win. So, you'll take it. But, there's still some things to be concerned about with the Eagles. The Jaguars, I mean, look, their season just, it's been a major disappointment. It's been a major disappointment. I think they, offensively, they've looked a little bit better in recent weeks, but it's proven to just not be enough. This is, unfortunately for them, a lost season, and there's definitely going to be some changes at the end of the year. And we will see what those changes end up being with the head coach, who they could possibly bring in. I mean, nothing's been official yet. They could shock us and bring Doug Peterson back, but it's probably not going to happen. Most likely not going to happen. So we'll get into this game when we come back. So make sure to stick around one final time, and we will talk about this game when we return. So stay tuned. We will be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are going to now get into talking about the Eagles-Jaguars game. The Eagles picking up the win, 28-23. So we'll get into the specifics for that. And look, I still don't trust them. Now, they're still winning games. I still think this is a good team, but I don't trust them. I don't trust them right now. Because, I mean, this game, I mean, it looked like it was going to be a blowout. They were up 22-0, and they started to let the Jaguars back into this game. The Jags started chipping away at the lead. Now, the Eagles are just, they have more talent. They are the better team here. So, obviously, they were able to hang on, but, that's not going to fly if you're playing against some of these better teams in your conference. But yeah, so they got the ball. Well, they punted, but then there was a muff punt. They recovered it, and that immediately led to a Jalen Hurts to Saquon Barkley touchdown from 20 yards out. Barkley, of course, had a big game, and also, I got the actually, no, this is of Jalen Hurts, but Barkley had that play in the game where, juked a couple of guys and then did a backwards hurdle. Which was unbelievable. And, of course, more people talk about, the Giants let him go. They were silly for doing that. Look, Saquon Barkley would not be having the season that he's having right now if he was with the Giants. He just wouldn't be. And honestly, for me, at this point, I'm happy that he's doing well. I am. Even though he's with the Eagles. So, we could just put that to bed. So, yeah, it was 7-0 Eagles on after the Barkley touchdown. More punts. It was 10-0 then. Eagles put together almost a 9-minute drive. And Jake Elliott kicked a 43-yard field goal. So that made it 10-0. Go to the second quarter. Both teams turned it over on downs. The Eagles went for it on 4th and 3 from the Jacksonville 22. They didn't get it. A.J. Brown actually left this game with an injury. So we'll see, what his status is going forward. Both teams then punted again. Trevor Lawrence threw a pick, and that resulted in another touchdown by the Eagles. Barkley scored from 19 yards out. So, yeah, so that made it 16-0. Then it was 22-0 because then the Eagles, in their first possession of the second half, Hurts scored a 18-yard rushing touchdown. But then the Jags answered. They scored a touchdown to get on the board. Trevor Lawrence scored a rushing touchdown. They went for 2, and they got it. Trevor Lawrence connected with Brian Thomas Jr. Then Saquon fumbled the ball, and it was recovered by Trayvon Walker. He returned it 35 yards for a touchdown, so that made it 22-16. Then the Eagles turned it over on downs. Jags punted. Then Hurts connects with Devontae Smith for a 25-yard touchdown. A great catch by Devontae Smith. He's a good receiver. He is a really good receiver. That's why I keep saying when it comes to the Eagles, they have a 1A and a 1B when it comes to their receiving core. So, yeah, that made it 28-16. And then the Jags put together another touchdown drive. Trevor Lawrence from 4 yards out scored. And that was all the scoring. The Eagles then ended up missing a field goal. Jake Elliott missed a 57-yarder, but then Trevor Lawrence threw a pick down near the goal line. So they had a chance to, go ahead, but they were not able to, and the Eagles ended up winning. Jalen Hurts went 18-24 for 230 yards. The Eagles ran the ball for 237 yards and 2 touchdowns. You had 159 yards on the ground by Barkley, 67 yards on the ground by Hurts. So, yeah, 2 rushing touchdowns, over 200 yards rushing. Devontae Smith, 4 receptions for 87 yards and a touchdown. Barkley had 3 for 40 and a touchdown. A.J. Brown, 2 for 36. Like I said, left with an injury. Barkley lost a fumble in this game. 2 sacks by the Eagles defense. For the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, 16-30, 169 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Travis Etienne, only 24 yards on the ground. Tank Bigsby, 22 yards on the ground. Evan Ingram was their leading receiver, 5 receptions for 45 yards. Parker Washington, 3 for 41. Jags defense, 3 sacks on the day. But, wasn't enough. They end up losing. They fall to 2-7 on the year. Eagles improved to 6-2. And they take on Dallas, and Dak Prescott will not be playing in that game. So I like the Eagles' chances to win there, get them to 7-2. But then they got some tough games. They got Washington, the Rams, the Ravens. So, we'll see how they do there. The Jaguars, I mean, this season it's been a major disappointment. It's been a major disappointment. And they've lost a lot of one-score games. I mean, they got blown out against the Bills and the Bears, but other than that, you lose that game to the Dolphins where you had the lead. You lost by 5 to the Browns. You lost by 4 to the Texans where, you were winning. The Packers game, you came back, but you fell short. You lose to the Eagles when you're trying to come back. You fall short there. They've been in a lot of their games. It's just, they're on the losing side. And, they look like they're not going anywhere. Yeah, shouldn't say that. We know this already. But it's just, there's going to be a lot of changes with the Jags. They do have some nice pieces on this team, and Trevor Lawrence has definitely been a disappointment. But, I like Brian Thomas Jr. He looks like he's a stud. Tank Bigsby has looked good this year. So I don't know if they're going to keep ETN. There's definitely pieces to build off of. But it's just, they've been a disappointment. That's all you could say. But for the Eagles, I really don't trust them. Let's see how they look against some of these better teams, but you almost let the Jags come back. You barely beat the Browns. It's just, I think right now their best player, and I keep saying it, is Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, if they didn't have Barkley, I don't know if their record's going to be as good as it is right now. He has been a difference maker for this team. And it's going to continue. He got a little banged up. It had a back issue, but it doesn't seem like it's too serious. We'll see what happens with A.J. Brown. Because like I said, he got banged up. I could take a quick look and see if there's any updates on him. So right now, he is questionable. Oh, he was limited. So Brown underwent an MRI that eventually revealed the issue to be a minor one that left him day to day. So that's where we're at. But he's limited, so maybe maybe he does end up playing on Sunday. If he's practicing, that means looks like he's on track to play. So, but who knows? But that would be a big loss. Because he's so important. The Eagles just have a lot of talent. The problem is everybody is saying they're winning in spite of their coach. And, if they make the playoffs and they finish with a good record, they maybe win the division because they still have a chance to do that. He's still going to be around, I think. Depending on what they do in the playoffs. So, but, look, they're 6-2. They are not a bad football team by any means, but it's just, I don't trust them when they're barely squeaking by some of these teams that they should be blowing out. They were blowing out the Jaguars and they let them come back in the game. What happened? Did they take the foot off the gas pedal? What's going on? But they still got the win. So, but now you got some better competition coming up. At least with this week, Dak Prescott's not playing. So, they should beat the Cowboys. Even with Dak playing, they should beat the Cowboys. But then it's that 3-game stretch between the Commanders, the Rams, and the Ravens. Show me, what you can do against those teams. This team has a lot of talent. But some of these wins are, not giving me confidence in this team. So, we'll see what happens, but let me know what you guys think about this game, what were your takeaways from it, and that pretty much brings us to the end of the show for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Tomorrow we will cover my picks. We'll go over, each game in the NFL. We'll take a look at the college football matchups for this weekend. So, typical Friday. Obviously, we got the game tonight, which is big. I'm going to be going back and forth on who I'm going to take with the spread pool. I do think the Ravens will win, but now it's a matter of how much do I think they're going to win by. And like I said earlier, I think with T. Higgins being out, that does make a big difference in this game. Because now the Ravens, they're going to be like, hey, beat us with somebody else. We're going to take Jamar Chase. We're going to try to limit Jamar Chase and his impact. So we'll see. But, should be a good game. It's always fun when those two teams play against each other, especially when you got both quarterbacks playing at a high level, because they both are. So we'll see. But, yeah, Week 10. The season is more than halfway over. And it's got to enjoy it between now and the end of the regular season, and then we get to the playoffs. So just got to enjoy it. In the college football season, that's going to be ending soon as well. And again, I keep saying it. I'm really looking forward to this new format and how it's going to play out. But, we still got a little bit till then, but it'll be here before we know it. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows. Give the other shows some love, like I always say. Make sure to comment, subscribe, and leave a like on the video. I will have this show broken down and posted or reposted into the 5 individual segments during the day. So make sure to look out for that in case you don't want to jump through the entire live stream again. And also make sure to check us out on wherever you get your podcasts so you can listen to us as well. But yeah, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day. Enjoy the game tonight, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn ain't